like to light the chalice and share a reflection on worth. With the kindling of this flame, we reaffirm our commitment to accept life's gifts with grace and gratitude, and to use them to bless the world in the spirit of love. This past week, I came across an affirmation-like poem on social media. It was entitled Worth. The source was listed as April Blue Healing Arts. The affirmation was posted by Maggie Jones, MA, a life coach from Lawrence, Kansas, who has an active online presence. This is what the affirmation said. Worth. I am valuable when I'm not creating anything. I am valuable when I'm still and quiet. I am valuable when I'm not helping another being. I'm valuable when I'm not productive. I'm valuable when I'm scared. I'm valuable when I'm not able to connect. I'm valuable when I'm the one who needs help. I'm valuable when I'm sick. I'm valuable when I'm exhausted. I'm valuable when I have nothing to add to the conversation. I am valuable when I don't look presentable. I am valuable when I'm not making anyone laugh. I am valuable. One of the followers of the account wrote a comment in response to the worth affirmation. The commenter wrote, I really don't get this. The idea of self-worth, I don't know how to validate myself when I'm not doing any of those things. I feel like if I don't do anything, I'm not valuable. The idea of being worthy just because I exist is weird. I can't really process it. Now, this affirmation was shared in the midst of the global pandemic we find ourselves in during the spring of 2020. Many people are struggling. Most of the audience of this post, I assume, are millennials, who are known to have extremely high levels of anxiety compared to other generations, many of which work in the gig economy or service industry, which has been devastated by the stay-at-home orders during this pandemic. I was really struck by the commenter who couldn't understand the concept of human value outside of or independent of production. This commenter is operating under the dominant worldview of our time and place, United States of America in 2020, which I will term the industrial corporate capitalism worldview. This worldview tells us that our value as human beings is determined by what we produce. How we are able to monetize our labor or skill or image is our value. The more we produce, the greater our worth. The less we produce, we are viewed in a less than fashion. I always found it somewhat strange, sacrilegious really, that corporations today have a department called HR. HR stands for Human Resources. The corporation's goal is to utilize, or, depending on your point of view, exploit natural resources and human resources to maximize profits and growth and sales. The department that has responsibility for employees is termed Human Resources. It always seemed objectifying and dehumanizing to me. Anyway, under this worldview, billionaires are the heroes, the exemplars of value. Today, everywhere I turn, the media is clamoring to interview another billionaire to hear their opinion or their take on the issues of the day. Usually in fields they have no experience in or only a hobbyist's interest, but they are billionaires, exemplars of value in industrial corporate capitalism, so their opinions matter in all things. They are deserving of prime-time promotion and unbelievably direct input into government policy. Many of these billionaires think they are qualified to be president or congressman because they are billionaires, exemplars of value. Furthermore, this is the same worldview that explains the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, sharing his opinion on the health of the economy versus the health of senior citizens in this time of stay-at-home orders on Fox News last month, March 23rd. He said, "No one reached out to me and said, as a senior citizen, are you willing to take a chance on your survival in exchange for keeping the America that all America loves for your children and grandchildren? And if that's the exchange, I'm all in." This worldview explains our current government response to the pandemic that we read about each day, the millions of dollars of assistance that went to large corporations, and nothing or a pittance that went to individuals and small businesses. This is the dominant worldview we are living in. But there's another worldview, ancient and modern, a worldview in which this affirmation, worth, is rooted in, a worldview in which our faith tradition is deeply rooted in as well. In the book of Genesis, in the Torah, it is written that humans were created in the image and likeness of God. Ancient and medieval Christian scholars writing in Latin came to call this imago Dei theology, image of God theology. So what does this mean? Well, like everything else in the Bible, everyone has an opinion and everyone thinks their interpretation is correct. Each faith tradition has a unique take on it. I read it that we are all God's children. Each of us is unique and special. Each of us has a spark of the divine within us. God's breath is in us. Our Universalist ancestors in the early 20th century stated it as belief in the supreme worth of every human personality. Belief in the supreme worth of every human personality. When the Unitarians and the Universalist denominations merged in 1961, this belief was enshrined in the UUA's first principle. We affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The great 20th century Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel stated it succinctly from his Jewish tradition. Quote, "Just to be is a blessing. Just to live is holy." Just to be is a blessing. Just to live is holy. Unitarian Universalists affirm the inherent worth and dignity of each person as a given of faith, an unshakable conviction, calling us to self-respect and respect for others. It's a given, an unshakable conviction, inherent worth. Human beings have inherent worth. There's no talk about production. Now we live in a world with various human-created labels that are affixed to us by the larger society. The isms, sexism, racism, classism, ableism, and others. These isms and the many others tell us very clearly who is normal and who is less than. Inherent worth, what you have, is worth beyond or worth before these isms. You have inherent worth. You are not less than, and any person or tradition or system that tells you that you are less than is mistaken. And sadly, in all likelihood, that person or tradition or system is so powerful that they can force that mistaken value upon you. The dominant worldviews of our time and place aren't true, they're lies, and yet They are dominant and empowered. Our late beloved member of the Sedona UU Fellowship, John Waddell, was a gifted sculptor. He had a humanistic philosophy undergirding his artistic work, which he termed the beauty of individual differences. From what I have gathered, he meant by this, from reading about it and talking to John personally, he believed we each have a spark of specialness, uniqueness inside us. John would work for months or years to finish a sculpture. He would work for so long with the human models he worked with, he would create again and again and again pieces in clay as the model posed. He was attempting to get at the person's essence, their unique human spirit, before realizing it and finally casting it in bronze. This is how he stated it himself. He wrote, "To be able to do something better than anyone else has moved man to many irrational acts. The gift of art can be a realization of the unique nature of the self and a mature establishment of directions, not goals. Thus, the concept is better replaced with a more realistic one, dealing with the uniqueness of contribution. The concept of better is replaced with a more realistic one, dealing with the uniqueness of contribution. Uniqueness of contribution, beauty of individual differences. In this conception, there isn't a value system of human worth, better than or less than. Everyone has value. Everyone is unique." Back to the Bible, to the New Testament, a core teaching of Jesus of Nazareth in the Gospels is a lifting up of individual human value in opposition to the dominant theology of empire of his time in Roman-occupied Judea. Ask yourself, who did Jesus spend his time with? The tax collectors, who were viewed as sellouts and traitors. Tax collectors were Jews who collected taxes from fellow Jews to give to the occupying Romans. Sex workers, who were frowned upon by the patriarchal society of the day. And all his various followers and disciples, often poor, quit their jobs to live an itinerant homeless lifestyle on the road. What were the moral of the stories Jesus told? What we call the parables. In the parable of the Good Samaritan, the audience of his time looked down upon Samaritans. The story shows how caring and loving someone from a despised people can be. They have worth, even though you despise them. Relevant to our time in Trump's America, this story could be the good Iranian, or better yet, the good undocumented immigrant. Those who are maligned and despised. Then there's the story of the prodigal son. A son of a landowner gets an inheritance and goes off and wastes it, boozing and gambling and womanizing. He's deeply ashamed and embarrassed and returns to his father. His father is so overjoyed to see his prodigal son, he throws him a big party of celebration and homecoming. The brother gets jealous. Why are you rewarding his misbehavior? And the father responds that my son was lost and now is found. In the eyes of the father, the son has value, independent of his poor decisions. The son has inherent worth. To sum up this value of our deep human value, I will turn to Thomas Merton, who was a gifted Roman Catholic monk and writer, writing in the 1950s and 1960s before his untimely death. He stated it quite clearly and succinctly. He wrote, "Our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether or not they are worthy. That is not our business, and in fact, it's nobody's business. What we are asked to do is to love, and this love itself will render both ourselves and our neighbors worthy. What brings us back to the social media affirmation on worth. I was heartened to see this affirmation posted on worth. I was saddened to see the comment by the young woman, so immersed in a worldview that diminishes her inherent human worth that she can't really process it. Even when we are gifted with life-affirming worldviews by our family, our artistic and our religious ancestors, life is still a struggle, especially in these difficult times, especially when our society's dominant worldview is so dehumanizing. May we be reminded, you are enough. You are worthy. You are valuable, even if you're still in your pajamas and your hair is all over the place. You are beautiful just as you are. You are whole. Let your light shine. May God bless you and keep you, and may peace be with you.